you should hire a business coach, but it's important that you know what type of coaching that you're getting. Now, if someone is coming from that corporate background and maybe you're hiring them specifically for branding, and they have that branding expertise, I think that's great. So it depends on what piece that you're hiring them for. So it's just like going to a doctor. If you are going to someone specifically who does orthopedics, or specifically who does ENT, then that's one thing. But if you're looking for someone who can really help you holistically, then that is a piece that I'll give you this example, Cheval. Oh my gosh. So I shared I have 3 kids, right? So one year all 3 kids have played travel soccer, and one year we noticed that our middle boy wasn't really progressing very well, and the only thing we could notice is that his coach at that time, he never played soccer. He never actually played soccer. So
Wow.
now he went to the coaching certification training. They have, I don't know, whatever it is, 6 hours or whatnot. You sit in a classroom and you get a playbook and you understand things cerebrally, how things should play out. Now, I didn't play soccer, so I didn't pick up on this, but my husband actually had a soccer scholarship to college. So, he was able to pick up on things that the coach just wasn't equipped to pick up on to help the team excel. And there's things you won't know unless you really played the game and you played it at a competitive level. And I think that's no different when it comes to, if you're running a business and you want to grow that and you're smart enough to say, hey, I need to have people on my advisory team, have people who've been in the trenches, who've walked the journey, and who've been many steps ahead of you, because there are some things you just are not going to pick up from textbook knowledge alone. So if you take somebody who even I've met many people who've gotten their MBA, but you throw them into running their own business, textbook knowledge alone isn't going to get you there, so experience, having that combination is really key.
That's really interesting you said that there, because I guess in the same way, that's like, for college graduates who basically graduate from college, they expect to probably get full-time work or whatever, but it just doesn't work that way. It's like you have to really have work experience beforehand. So I got to ask this question here, because you mentioned about, like, it was like a blog post that was guest post by Sabrina Simon, talking about 4 most important things you must do to convert leads into sales. And one of the things that was mentioned was saying, if you don't establish yourself as an authority in your field through quality content, you'll find it quite hard to gain customers, because they may see you as untrustworthy. So the question is, how can entrepreneurs or even business owners or college graduates, become that authority in their respective fields?
Yeah, you got to start with where you're at, and so if you're at 0, and you've never published a blog post or, created an ebook or done a PDF or an audio or video, then start there. So it's important that you're able to share your knowledge and expertise and start to educate people on your philosophy, your school of thought, educate people even on, how to solve little problems that they're going through. And so what every industry you're going to have, if you're an expert at what you do, I'm sure you have top 10 pet peeves that you have, as far as people who are so amateur and they're really not helping the customer. It's not a good value for the customer. So take those 10 pet peeves and turn them into an education piece, as far as, why you disagree with X, Y, and Z. And so that's one place. And I would say, if you're not a writer, then just speak it. Even having a conversation with 2 people like you and I, you could have somebody ask you, 2 or 3 questions, or maybe 5 or 6 questions, and record it as an interview, and then have that transcribed into a blog post. So you don't have to be, a writer to get your content out and be perceived as the thought leader or an expert, but you want to share your knowledge in some capacity, And so ideally it's nice to start with whatever is easiest for you and then have that repurposed. So if it's easiest for you to just speak, if you're not a video person, then just have an audio interview and have that transcribed, and you can have somebody even turn it into a PowerPoint presentation, throw that up on SlideShare, you know, uh, use that article on your LinkedIn profile as a LinkedIn post, you put it on out as a blog on your website, but you want to have something other than just features and benefits or your services on your navigation tab. When people come to your website, you don't want to, if that's all you have, then you're leaving them to, the only choice you leave them to is price shopping. The only choice you leave them to is, okay, well, maybe I'll decide on who's closest to us, and that should never be the main decision criteria for why customers choose you, because you were just the closest financial advisor down the street, or it's not the way you should probably pick a financial advisor, right? And that's said for really any other type of industry. So definitely start getting that knowledge that you have in your head, get it out of your head and get it out, onto online.
So that's really good advice. So basically, it's like basically have that third party endorsement per se, and that can be like what having like press or whatever or a blog, talking about the expertise or even guest posting,
Right.
like how Sadrina Asseman guest posts on your blog, basically.
Right. So your knowledge is being able to get people to know you through, those mediums like the blogs, audio, video. But when you're talking about third-party endorsements, I mean, that's huge too. If you get published in a major magazine or a television, radio, getting published, where you're kind of borrowing their brand name. It's borrowed traffic, borrowed reputation. So if I just share a few tips to Entrepreneur Magazine, or I share a few tips to the Wall Street Journal and they publish it, yeah, that would definitely be a third-party endorsement type of platform.
Okay, so now I gotta ask this question.
Right.
How, like, should, like, say, for if they try to get that, become like, that authority, and say they want to like get an interview on a podcast or whatever, should they go for? Oh, I'm sorry, everyone, I'm actually in a co-working space right now, so. But anyway, if they're trying to go for a third-party endorsement, should they go for a niche audience, like like go for niche media, or should they go for mass media first?
Well, you're probably not going to get picked up in mass media if you've had zero as far as your expertise, positioning, and authority, because they're going to want to go to folks who are already branded. So what I would say is, start small, start in your local niches. So if there's an association of, if there's a particular industry that you want to target as far as your ideal target market, every industry has an association, and associations typically have either online or print or both, journal that they publish. And so start getting some publicity and visibility by sharing your insights, with the articles that get published there. So I would start small. Then you can go and share on podcasts. You can share on radio shows. You can share by guest blogging, and you can build that up. So that's and then there's another site you can really start to be able to see who is looking for tips from experts in your area of expertise would be Harrow. So I don't know if you're familiar with Harrow, Cheval. It's Help a Reporter
Yes,
Out,
I am.
and that would be a great site to get started. And there's a lot of similar sites to Harrow as well. I mean, you could get overwhelmed, and it's hard to keep track with 10 different sites, but that was where I started. And it was, just look at the feed of what types of publications are looking for which types of experts and tips. And so you have the same thing for podcasting, so there are directory sites that are looking for There's radio guest list directory. You can do that if you're more of a talker, because Haro would be, you'd have to email them your responses, and then if they pick it up, they pick it up.
Yeah, definitely. So now I gotta ask about your own podcast. I believe you're about to launch.
Yes.
I believe. Can you share with us about about podcast and how what led you to decide to choose that medium per se instead of say like video?
Yeah. Well, I chose the medium because it really is how I like to consume information. So my audience, being entrepreneurs, everybody's pretty busy, and we try to squeeze in as much productivity in our hour as possible, right? So whenever you can multitask, whether you're driving, running on the treadmill, or you're doing laundry. I mean, whenever you can multitask, you do it. So I rarely have time to sit and have my undivided attention to watch a video, but I will listen to podcasts, and I love that you get to be in somebody's ear. And for me, it's so much easier for me to talk than it is to sit down and write an article. So that does take more discipline, more time. I tend to be a perfectionist, and sometimes I get writer's block. So with talking, just ask me the questions and I can talk about it. Um, so that's how I chose podcasting. But I'll tell you, the show that I'm launching very soon, and you can hear some episodes, actually, some Q&A episodes, sneak peek, on my website at paramountbusinesscoach.com. So if you go to the blog, you'll see a few the Q&A episodes where people call in, they ask me a question, and then they get kind of like free coaching for the 20-minute episode. But what I really wanted to do different was I just want to tackle your problems. What are the specific problems you're going through right now? Let's just knock it out and help you get some quick wins. There's a ton of podcasts out there, and there's a lot that are nice, and people have great personalities, and they do chit chatting and shoot the breeze, and you get to know them, and they talk about things cerebrally. So where I really felt that there was a hole is just solve my problem. Just you listen to an episode, we tackle a specific problem you're going through, and voila. And a lot of my episodes will have free checklist downloads to help you just be able to save that time and get that quick win. So I'm excited about it when we'll be launching very soon.